Okay, the Enlightenment unit. This is an intro lesson. You can go at it at your own pace and go back to it. It's just kind of an intro to the Enlightenment and hopefully helps get you started with our Enlightenment unit. So, introductory writing piece in your notebook on a new page, title it Introductory Writing Piece, and your writing prompt is, what is the Enlightenment? What else do you know about it? About the Enlightenment. So what is the Enlightenment and what do you know about the Enlightenment? If you don't know anything, that's fine. Write that. Give a guess as to what you think it is. There's no right or wrong answer with this. I just want to see what you already know. Once you've done that, then you can move on to the next slide. Isaac Newton and René Descartes, and this is from pages 98 through 104 in your textbook. Our objectives for this unit are to place the Enlightenment in the historical context and contrast the period with the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. So you are placing the Enlightenment period in that greater historical timeline in between the Middle Ages and the present time. So where does that fall? So the Middle Ages are often known as the Dark Ages, and it's the time during the Black Death and the Plague. Not a whole lot of experiments and stuff were going on. People relied heavily on the information from the church and the king, and there wasn't a whole lot of self-seeking the information. The Renaissance is the time period that looks back towards Greek art and literature for answers and understanding of things. So the Renaissance is similar in the Enlightenment in that people start questioning the information they're getting from the king and the church. However, they are looking back in the Renaissance towards the old ideas from the Greeks and the Romans, whereas the Enlightenment is a time period where people are looking at reason and science. They're questioning things. They're telling people that they should do experiments to find out information. So you should be able to understand how the Enlightenment, where the Enlightenment falls in our greater historical timeline, and then how it compares to the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Tell how Isaac Newton explained the workings of the universe. So you should be able to tell me how Isaac Newton explained the workings of the universe. How did the universe work according to Isaac Newton? And then our third one, explain why Descartes is considered the father of modern philosophy. So why do we consider him the modern philosophy? That's the question you should be able to answer following these slides. Vocabulary. So make sure you review through this vocabulary and fill it out in the Freyer charts that I've given you. And you do that as you do your reading. So you should be doing your reading. Should have done your reading or be doing your reading after this presentation. And these are the vocabulary terms from that. And you should fill out those Freyer models. Remember, it's the definition, example, non-example, and a picture for each word. Okay. What was the Enlightenment? Where does the name come from? Okay. So what was the Enlightenment and where does it come from? The Enlightenment is a time in 1700s Europe where people began to question old ideas and search for knowledge. The name refers to the light of knowledge that supposedly replaces the darkness of superstition and ignorance. During the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages, there's not a whole lot of people searching out things. They're very superstitious, especially around the plague. And so the Enlightenment is a change in that people are no longer being as superstitious and they're looking towards science and reason to explain things rather than superstitions. And that's where it gets its name. Compare and contrast the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. How are they similar? How are they different? Okay, Renaissance thinkers looked mainly to the art and literature of ancient Greece and Rome for the ideas and answers. So they looked back towards ancient Greece and Rome, okay, for their answers, and they looked towards the literature and the art from those periods. The Renaissance and the Enlightenment are similar in that it's a reaction against the medieval period and its reliance on the church and king. So again, during the Middle Ages or this medieval time period, or the Dark Ages, as it's called, you may hear it referred to as all three of those things. People relied on the information from the Church and King, and the Renaissance and the Enlightenment are both a reaction to that and a reaction against the reliance on the Church and King for all of their information. And Enlightenment thinkers. Enlightenment thinkers differ from Renaissance thinkers in that Enlightenment thinkers turned to science and reasons for ideas and answers. Scientific method, testing experiments, questioning the information that you get, especially the information you get from the Church or the King, questioning those ideas and turning to science and reason for those answers. So those are just some similarities and differences between the Renaissance thinkers and the Enlightenment thinkers. Okay, you can find more in your text. So you make sure that you have read over pages 98 to 104 and that you can talk about Descartes and Isaac Newton, and you know that their ideas on things from that text. And don't forget to do your vocabulary.